I don't fear death, but I do fear irrelevance, right? I want to be adding
Good.
value to someone's life. I want to be the mentor for my kids, for other people I'm connected with. I want to be able to share and give them information that helps them out.
Everyone has greatness in them. I do believe that. I think a lot of people are afraid to talk about it. The word greatness seems egotistical. What I mean by that is we all can relate to people and bring something great to the table, whether it's making you smile, whether it was your little educational piece on the way to get someone to open up about their day. It's whether you're an athlete and you're a great performer and you inspire kids to play basketball or music, whatever it is. Me doing the show, if I've inspired someone to buy a microphone and do their own podcast, it's amazing, right? Our guest today is known as a motivational listener. He's a coach, mentor, and a speaker working with businesses and individuals across the country. He created the Independent Planner, an analog calendar with a unique daily goal tracking system created for solo entrepreneurs, freelance professionals, and also small business owners. His latest book, Motivational Listener, Be Interesting by Being Interested, is available on Amazon. Welcome to the show, a man who gets 100% of his business through referrals and relationships, D. Scott Smith.
Hey, Mike. Thanks for having me on the show. Mic'd up.
Yeah, we're mic'd up, baby.
What a great honor. I love listening to your show. You get great guests. And you're a good host, which is a good combination.
I love doing it. I think that's a big part of it. And I love working with people who are well-versed. You have great equipment on your side. You got a beautiful guitar hanging over. You're not a stranger to sound equipment. So it's always fun working with another creative person who is a great dancing partner in this space. And not only that, guys, audience, talking to you directly right now, it's not just that he's going to look good and sound good, but he's got great quality content he's going to be dropping as well. What I want you guys to do is check out his website, dscottsmith.com. He kept it nice and easy for you. And I like to keep things easy. All of these show notes are clickable. So if you want to check him out in social media, you can go right down to the show notes and click through that. Let's get this thing kicked off here. So networking is a key topic. It's the primary topic in your latest book. It's also, you talk about the process of intentionally building relationships. Obviously, that intention part is the most important, in my opinion. Much like we're doing right now, we're building this relationship to even greater than what it was previous to press and record today. Can you share a few key components to professionally leveraging your network?
Yeah, the first thing I want to say is that networking is not, and it has never been, about going to networking events. And so a lot of people were thinking, with the pandemic and the lockdown and all these things, how can I network? How can I connect? Well, I can tell you over the last year and a half, my overall network has grown faster than it has in prior years, mainly because we're more efficient by meeting virtually.
Yeah.
Although week before last, I finally went to my first trade show, and I miss them. I love trade shows. I was down in Nashville for Summer NAMM, National Association of Music Merchants. It is the first full-on trade show that I've been to since the Toy Fair in New York in February of 2020.
Wow. Okay. So it doesn't sound that long ago, but obviously experiencing the pandemic, certainly does feel like a long time to getting in person. And if anyone knows what these trade shows are like, it's an energetic event with, especially the NAMM show. Is it pronounced NAMM? I always forget how. Is it actually
Correct.
NAMM?
That's right,
because
NAMM.
I worked at a music store many moons ago. I was about 13 years younger. And something about in that range. And I saw your beautiful Epiphone on the wall there. That's a Sheridan you were showcasing behind you. And it made me think of, working at that music store. It was Guitar Factory in West Seneca, a little local shop. And they used to go to the NAMM show every year and learn, just go to different booths. And they used to see and hear from cutting edge technology to these little boutique pedals and all kinds, and they would come back with all this stuff, and we would just get to goof around with it and see what we liked, and then whatever customers would show interest in, then they would order it. opposed to just ordering it blindly. We got to play with it a little bit. So that was cool. I know you're a musician, you're a business person,
Hmm.
you've carried just about every hat in an organization from the ground up, right? And so there's so much we could talk about, but I appreciate you bringing that up. It is great to be in person at times,
Hmm.
but I just wanted to add to your thought. I've My business has grown a lot during the pandemic, and it's because I've been able to build more quality relationships quicker through doing things. I know that you and I are involved in a lot of online networking groups. It's quicker, it's faster paced, and you don't have to drive out to the coffee shop to make that connection. You have to drive home. I mean, I literally pre-pandemic was maybe meeting 2 to 3 people a day, where now I can meet, 10, 15 people a day and have quality half-hour conversations and just get on to the next one. I can choose when I want to have my coffee break personally, lunch, dinner, time with my daughter. I just schedule it. Like literally people click on a link, how you book this interview. As you know, this isn't, breaking cutting edge technology, but business people today, just here's my calendar link. You pick your time. We don't have to worry about this. Like, let's get this coffee in a mutual beneficial location and hope that you show up on time and all that good stuff. So this is fantastic. But let's talk like some key principles behind it.
Yeah. So as I mentioned, it's not about necessarily about going to events. It's
Mm-hmm.
about connecting up with people one to one. Now,
Mm-hmm.
whether you do that face to face, whether you do that through virtual networking connections, Zoom meetings, or other visual or video conferencing, or just phone calls,
Mm-hmm.
it's all about that one to one connection. And so it doesn't matter whether you're an extrovert or whether you're an introvert. You
Mm-hmm.
can build a network. In fact, what I tell people is that you already have a fabulous network filled filled with remarkable people who want you to succeed. They want Mike to succeed. They just need to know, what problem do you solve? Who is your ideal customer? And why is your solution better? That's all you have to do, is to communicate to them. And then that's how you get referrals.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's you build trust over time. You're not trying to get married on that first date. And a lot of people make that mistake. They make that mistake not only virtually networking, but through like LinkedIn. It's terrible to see like how many people come in. I connect with them because they seem like a decent person and they have interesting things either in their subtitles and or their headers. And I click through and I look at their experience. Yeah, this looks like a cool guy that or gal that I might connect with. And then they beat you up with the offer right away. And it's like, it's not even just a little bit of a teaser. It's here's the entire book with clickable links to purchase my programs and all kinds of crazy stuff. And then if you don't even respond, I try to like, either be nice and just say I'm not interested or whatever. Then that follow up hits. And that's equivalent to you meeting someone in a networking event and they're just like, me, my book, my thing, this, that, what are you going to buy from me? And they have no idea what the hell you do or how they can
Mm-hmm.
help you do it, which is why I love the title of your book, to be interested, not just interesting. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And
That's
it's
right.
not
Yep.
bullshit though. It's not, I'm going to act like I care about Scott right now because maybe then he's going to give me what I want. It's
Mm-hmm.
actually caring about Scott. Like, can we just go back to being a real human being at the end of the day? That's what we are. And you're saying building meaningful relationships, right? It's the lifeblood of business, truly is.
Indeed. And that's that title, Motivational Listener. And I
Mm-hmm.
always give credit to my wife because I'm a good husband. She created that title. Somebody asked her one time, Christine, what is it that you do? And she said, I'm a motivational listener. And I said, I love that. I will always give you credit, but I'm stealing that. And so it's a
So
great pattern
that
interrupt.
came from Christine.
Came from my wife. Yep, yep.
You got to
And
give credit. I'm
so
glad you gave credit where it's due.
I'm a good husband. And so she said, I'm a motivational listener. And it's a pattern interrupt, right? Because we're used to motivational speaker. We hear that all the
Yeah.
time, but this is a little twist. So it causes a moment of reflection. Oh, I love that. What does that mean? And
Mm-hmm.
so I put structure around what it means to be a motivational listener. and it's based on the brain science. And so in the book, Motivational Listener, the first half of the book really focuses in on the science of how we connect and how our brains work, how we retain information. And there's an interesting part of the brain called the orbital frontal cortex, and it sits right behind your eyeballs. And it's the error detection part of your brain. So
ERROR or AIR?
Error.
Yeah. Like
error.
ERROR?
Yep, exactly.
Okay.
And so when things are unexpected, so think of it this way. Your brain functions at a very high level, and you can process a lot of information. You can drive down the road and not even really think about what you're doing, about steering, braking, checking the mirrors, being aware of what's going on, right? You're thinking about where you came, where you went, you're going to do this weekend, what you want to do this summer.
It's why people get home and they're like, how the hell did I get home already? Because they're thinking about all this stuff.
There was a 4-way stop. I'm pretty sure I stopped, but I don't remember, right? You know it's there between the office and home, but you don't remember because your brain is being able to process all information. Well, when that squirrel runs out in front of your car, your error detection, that orbital frontal cortex kicks in, and you can't think about anything else except that moment, right? You're going, I don't want to squish the squirrel, but I don't want to hit the oncoming traffic. I don't want to hit the cars parked on the side of the road. So all of a sudden your brain focuses, right? You can't think about all those other things. Well, this is the same thing with when we meet people. So when we have something like Motivational Listener, that goes, oh, yeah, I'm the CEO, I'm the owner, I'm the founder, I'm the this, I'm a motivational speaker, I'm a best-selling author, all these things. But if you put Motivational Listener in there, wait a minute, what was that? It's like the squirrel running out in front of your road. Activates the orbital frontal cortex. Now, here's the really interesting thing about that part of your brain is that it's also responsible for facial and vocal recognition. So if we're having a conversation, oh, hey, nice to meet you, Mike. And, and I activate that part of your brain, I am imprinting my face and my voice on your head, right there.
Which now that you brought attention to it, certainly our audience is doing that. And I've already done that because we've talked a few times, but yeah, it's strengthening that as well. That is so good. I mean, that's in life, we definitely have a lot that comes at us. We're putting things out into the world. And before I feel you can make any kind of true difference, meaningful impact or difference in yourself personally and with others around you, you need to be present in the moment. And it's like, how do you collectively do anything without being present in the moment? You kind of could experience it, but it's that I stopped at the 4-way stop, but I don't remember it, which is why if you ask me to remember a lot about school, to me, a lot of it was a blur because I was actively there kind of trying to get through the end of the day. And I'm not trying to shoot down school. I didn't, I wasn't always like actively tuned in. So I was kind of going through the motions. So I'm not trying to say the school system's bad and put it down, but I'm just saying it was my attitude towards it a lot of the time was just trying to get through. It was a checklist thing in my day so I can get on to the fun stuff. It wasn't until I was 15 years old that I actually read a book and I could remember, like I could articulate what I just read. 15 years old. Why is that? It's because I cared about it. It was Seinfeld's book, Sign Language, and it was Anthony Kiedis's book, Scar Tissue. I read both of those books in my mid-teens, and I loved them because I cared about the people and the stories. But if you ask me to read like Hamlet or something or whatever, I would learn it by rote, as I'm sure you know, which means to learn it for the test question so you can memorize it for a week, get a good score, and then years later, I have no idea what that story is even about. I don't know. Is it about a pig? Hamlet? I have no idea. I don't even remember it. Right?
That's right.
So that's my tangent. Which we're talking about getting on tangents and being focused. But my point is, how do you fix anything until you're focused on it? You certainly wouldn't want a surgeon to be doing an operation if they're all over the place in that room and they're not focused at the task at hand directly. So in networking, you come in and people are just spewing, they're in autopilot. I do this, I do that, I sell this, I help these people, blah, 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 blah. and they're so out of tune that it's really hard to get interested and tuned in. So you're
Well, and
saying
that's
let's tune into that connection first, right? Before you get into
exactly.
like who the heck you are. Nobody cares yet. They're not even tuned. The squirrel didn't hit them yet. Jump out in the road for them to even listen to you. So you're saying it's important to get attention, which obviously, I mean, Gary Vaynerchuk's been spewing that for years. I love it, but you got to get attention. You got to get in front of someone, right? Grant Cardone literally stops his speeches like, do I have your attention? No. How about now? So without being obnoxious about it, you're
Mhm.
saying be creative in a way that trips their that
Yeah,
air
the
system
orbital, yeah, the orbital frontal cortex,
or
OFC.
OFC. You got to trip their
Yeah, there we go.
OFC.
Hmm.
Maybe just say that. Hey, did I trip your OFC just now? What? Okay, good. I just want to make sure I did that.
Well, I will give you something, and I'll give this to your audience, and it's in that book,
Mm-hmm.
and
I'll put a
when you
screenshot up so they can see it right now too.
sure when you meet somebody, uh, we daydream between 30 and 50% of our waking hours.
Mm-hmm.
It's just because our brain works so fast, right? We can hear, we can observe, we can connect with people, and we can be fully present, but we're still daydreaming about half of the time. And so what you want to do is focusing the OFC is you want to ask an unexpected question. So when I was at the trade show, or when you meet somebody at events, or where you connect with people digitally, ask this question, because if you ask the expected questions, hey Mike, how are you doing? How was your
Mm-hmm.
day? What have you got going on? If you're at the grocery store, they ask you, did you find everything you're looking for? So
Uh-huh.
forth, right? It doesn't do anything for you.
Uh-huh. You can
Ask.
operate in the lowest frequency still and answer these questions.
Hmm. So ask this question: how's your world?
Yeah.
Go to the when you go to the checkout stand, and I challenge your audience to do this. The next time you're at the checkout stand, and the cashier asks you, how's your day? Fine. Did you find everything you're looking for? Yes. Then respond back to them and say, how's your world?
Mm-hmm.
And you'll watch and you'll see, because their brain is, they weren't expecting that. And
Uh-huh.
it activates the OFC without being weird, right? You're not jumping in someone's face to say, hey, do I have your
Yeah.
attention? You're saying,
Uh-huh.
hey, how's your world? Now they're
Uh-huh.
going to interpret that. Is my world this check stand? Is it the store? Is it my place in the cosmos? What is it?
Is it the actual earth? What's he talking about? Is it? Yeah,
Right.
it gets them thinking about how big is he talking? Because world could be your world, the scene in the moment. It could be the physical planet we're on. It could be
Mm.
the people in your sphere.
I'll
What's
give you
it?
an
Yeah,
and I'll give
that's
you an
awesome.
example.
I like
I'll give
that.
you an
I'm
example. We were on vacation. We were down at this resort in Klamath Falls called the Running Y, and my family likes to go there because they have a great rec center, swimming pool, spa, all this stuff, right? So we go in there, and there's a lady at the front desk checking us in and handing out the towels. And are you enjoying your time at the Running Y? Yes, we are. Do you have any questions? No, we don't. So then I ask her, how's your world? Well, I find out her and her husband were going to be closing on a house that week. They had moved there like 3 years before. He's a contractor. They've been looking for the right place. And I got this whole backstory. And
Mhm.
that was on the first day that we were there. So the rest of the week, we had something to talk about that wasn't towels,
Uh-huh.
right?
Wasn't the weather, wasn't the BS, every hundreds of people that she's had that same cookie cutter story because you got her to go to a place that opened up about. And so all you're saying, I love it. I'm just kind of re-articulating it back to the audience, and I'm sure they already picked up on it, but
Mm-hmm.
you just built little connections that got greater because the time period was extended. You were there for a week, whatever it is. So again, you're building something and not trying to say, I want to have this conversation with you right now, because they weren't even ready for that conversation. But now they're willing to get there because you're letting them talk and also tell you things that are important to them. People will tell you what they maybe haven't gotten out. And just by saying, how's your world? Someone could be like, you know what, I'm having a great day. And like, wow, nobody asks me if I'm having a great day. They just kind of nod their head at me all the time. So they're just feeling good that they even got to tell you they're having a good day. If they're not having a good day, someone might say, oh, whatever. They have their little catchphrases. It's what's the one I hear all the time? Living the dream or whatever, which is
Yeah,
always
there you
kind of
go.
like, man, I
Right.
would have rather you just not even say that one. It's kind of that's in autopilot mode.
Hmm.
So then maybe you say, well, what dream? Tell me more about your dreams. That's cool. Then all of a sudden now you're tripping the OFC by asking them like, what's your dream? Tell me more about that.
Yeah.
Right.
So like I said, in that book, Motivational Listener, that really focuses in on networking events, and it works for both online and in person. So the first half is the science of how we connect. The second part really gives you the practical steps on how to connect it at networking events. But I wanted to expand beyond that. So I
Mm-hmm.
created a field guide, and it actually just dropped on Amazon this week. So it's a very short, little 24-page book called Relationships Grow Your
Mm-hmm.
Business. And it is a networking method and process. And so I can share you a little bit about the structure
Yeah.
of what your network looks like and give your audience some practical tools that they can use. And
Mm-hmm.
if they decide to go out and get the book, which that'd be great. It's only 99 cents. So
Right.
please invest 99 cents.
Well, it's
But there's,
clickable in the notes as well. So guys, you can go there, check it out, and for
there you
a
go.
dollar for the cost of a candy bar in that line, when you ask someone how's your world, you're paying 99 cents for that Snickers. You may as well get Scott's book, right?
Get something worthwhile. And there's access to free video training that gives you practical steps to go through
Mm-hmm.
and follow the process and method that's in the book. And there's sheets that are downloadable and stuff.
There's
But
actually 5 things in that I picked out that I'd
yeah,
love you to articulate on, and then go ahead and share as
you
much
bet.
after that. But and we're going to get to a quick timeout after as well. But there's 5 things. There's the advisors and mentors piece.
Hmm.
There's the mentees, customers, advocates, and partners. Kind of the 5 buckets that you broke this down, right? Active networks that we all are
Hmm.
in. Can you share a little bit about the advocates and partner side of it? Because that's where I'm like, I'm not totally sure where he's going.
Sure. Yeah, yeah. So in our network, so I don't know. I think when I first was starting to write that book or put this information down, I had like 2,300 contacts. Now I've got like 2,600 contacts.
Uh-huh.
Just been growing and not even trying, right? Just getting connected. That's your extended network. That's I don't know 2,600 people,
Mm-hmm.
but Robin Dunbar, the British anthropologist, says we can manage about 150 relationships. So 100 to 150.
That's our
That's
hard
your
drive. That's all
active.
it can handle.
Yeah, that's your active network. That's the people that you actually connect with and do business with. And there's 5 defined roles within there. Because you would think, oh, yeah, here's my network. They all want to give referrals to me. That's not their role. Not everybody has the same role. So, this is a critical point. When you go down to your active network, you have mentors and advisors, mentees, customers, advocates, and partners.
Mm-hmm.
And so the advisors and mentors, those are the people that you turn to say, look, I need to make a decision. Should I start this show? Should I take this job? What is it? Who is it that you turn to for that advice?
Mm-hmm.
Mentees. These are the people we should all be giving back, right? We should be giving into the next generation. And the teacher always learns more than the student, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Customers, pretty straightforward, a great source of repeat business, and they have direct experience with you. So they can pass your name on to other folks. Advocates. That's the question, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it
Who
was
are your
advocate,
advocates?
kind of the last 2 buckets, advocates and partners.
Right, yeah. So advocates, these are the people who actually send referrals to you. So out of your 100 to 150 people in your active network,
Mm-hmm.
you may only have 6 or 12 people that are actually saying, "Hey Mike, I've got a great guest for your podcast. Let me make an introduction."
Mm-hmm.
Or, they're out at the show and they're talking and they're saying, "Oh, yeah, you do this stuff. Let me introduce you to somebody," right?
Mm-hmm.
That's an advocate. And so when you're looking at your active network, if you've defined the role of all of those people and you look at your advocates, again, It may be just a dozen people in there.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the people you need to make contact with. And as I said, they want you to succeed. They just need to know, what problem do you solve? Why is your solution better? And who is the ideal customer? So spend time with those advocates, the people that send referrals your way. So
Mm-hmm.
that's a critical part of managing your network. And then partners, right? Partners are another big component. In fact, when we look at your active network, this could be over 60%, 2/3 of your active network of that 100 to 150 people could be partners. Now, partners are people that solve problems that you do not solve, but
Mm.
allow you to add value into your network.
So I'm glad I brought it up, because I think a lot of people think of a partner as like a C-level person on their team in their board of
Mm-hmm.
directors room or something, but it's not that. It's continue. Yeah, this is great.
Yeah, I think of it as who's your plumber?
Mm-hmm.
So if I had work done on my kitchen, and we're neighbors, and you say, "Hey, Scott, I need to get a new faucet." Who's your plumber? Did you like working with that company? And so I go, "Yeah, here's the ABC Plumbing Company. Mike, you'll like them, you'll trust them. They did good work. They were reasonably priced, so forth." Right? I am an advocate for that plumbing company, and you say, "Wow, I can go to Scott because he may not be the person to solve my problem, but he knows who."
Mm-hmm.
Right? He can be a connector in that sense. So, and by the way, I don't expect my plumber to be sending referrals to me. To, "Hey, Scott, I've got a
Right.
speaking engagement I want to connect you up with," because that's not their role.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
And you're not only sending him a referral, hoping for that in return.
right, yeah, it's I'm doing it because I want to help you.
Yeah.
The plumber gets the benefit, but I'm really helping you in that conversation, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so my value is now raised within my network because I'm the person you can go to. Oh, you need help with your website? I can connect you up with somebody. You need some voice talent to do an intro for the podcast? I can hook you up with somebody, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they may not necessarily be sending referrals to me because that's not their role within the network.
Mm-hmm.
Advocates send referrals to me,
Yeah.
but I
So
may
it's
not be
important to
sending.
identify them correctly and
Yes.
not,
Hmm.
yeah, get
And
the
that way
lines crossed.
you have the right expectations,
Mm-hmm.
and then you set up a frequency. So you should be in contact with your advocates at least every month, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, Partners, on the other hand, I don't need to spend an hour with my plumber every week.
Right.
You know, just being in contact once a year is fine for your partners,
Mm-hmm.
those service providers, those people who solve problems that you don't solve, but allow you to add value back into
Would
your network.
Yeah. Would you say that advocates definitely need to be a customer at some point as well, so they can relate to what your offering is, so they can speak to it like, look, Scott's the guy who did this for me? Or could it be, hey, I saw Scott do this thing and it's pretty cool, I think he can help you out, why don't you connect with him?
Yeah, customers have a unique role because they do have that direct experience working with you,
Mm-hmm.
but not all of them are going to send referrals your way.
Mm-hmm.
They're a good source of repeat business, but just because they've done business with you doesn't mean that they're actually an advocate. And so advocates don't have to have had experience working with you on that particular item.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the components that I'm involved in is digital marketing. So we run Google, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat ads
Mm-hmm.
for businesses. And so I can have maybe a web designer who I've never run ads for that person, but their customer comes to them for a website, and then they say, their customer might say, oh, well, we need to do some advertising now that we've got this beautiful website. And they can say, oh, I know a guy. Let me connect you up with Scott.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so they're an advocate, but they were never a customer.
Yeah, that's so good. So good. We're like way late to the break here. I want to make sure we continue. Obviously, the great conversation. There's so much more I want to get to in your story. We teased a little bit in the beginning. We want to get right back there. So let's take a quick 60-second timeout for our sponsor. We're going to be right back with Scott. Don't go anywhere. Podcasting is a great way to engage with your audience and stay consistently relevant. The only problem is you don't have the time or desire to produce your own show. You simply want it done for you. And that's where Social Chameleon comes in. All you need to do is press record and upload the files. We'll handle the rest. From planning, production, post-production, distribution, and digital marketing, we have you covered. We realize that times are tough and funds are tight. And Social Chameleon believes in building supportive business relationships. By clicking on the link in this promo, we'll provide you 7 free podcasting tips to get started, as well as a free 30-minute online consultation. This is the perfect opportunity for entrepreneurs, keynote speakers, industry experts, influencers, and anybody who has a personal brand. With Social Chameleon, we help you build a brand that is out of this world. We're ready and waiting, so what are you waiting for? Click on the link to get started today. All right, we're back in action with Scott. You guys can connect with him again. All his social media links are clickable in the show notes. You can go to his website as well. And also, he's offering his book on Amazon right now for only 99 cents. It's a no-brainer to grab that as well. Scott, so prior to becoming a full-time entrepreneur, right, you also worked in large and small companies and leadership roles, including being CEO, COO, general manager, to name a few. Can you give a recommendation for the young entrepreneurs listening to this, or people that are leaders within an organization? Maybe they're like a branch manager. They're looking to get into maybe the C level. What are some of the things that you've learned, like some really good core values that helped you get to where you are at, that you can say, you got to focus on these handful or less items to really get yourself prepared for that?
Yeah. The first thing is because I was raised to be an employee. Everything that I did in school said, when you go to work for somebody, this will make you a good employee. Mm-hmm. So I was never raised to be an entrepreneur, but it was in my DNA and I had to do it. So eventually I escaped that, but it's not for everybody, right? So one of the mentors that I had when I was in banking, and we were in this management training program, and we were getting ready to have lunch with the president in the boardroom. And so he says, I want to talk to you guys about office politics, because this is a big thing. And I'm young and I don't know anything. I really didn't know anything about it. But he said, if you think of the root of the word politics as polite, he said, you will have mastered everything you need to know about politics in business.
Mm-hmm. Incredible. So again, it just comes back to being a good person at the end of the day. People can relate to, resonate with. Starts there. Kindness. It's always a good time to be kind. Might sound really, oh, that sounds so great. Soft and cuddly statement, Mike, but come on. I mean, it's literally, there's a difference from being nice and being kind. Can you kind of take it from there? Like, what's the difference to you and someone being polite and kind as a leader in business?
Yeah, it's if you treat the president different than you would the janitor, you're probably making a mistake, right? Mm-hmm. So, in your service providers. So I can give you an example. When I was managing bank branches, the tellers have to count their cash at the end of the day, and the amount of money that they have in their drawer has to agree with the amount of money that the computer says they have, right? Because it's coming and go, has the balance.
Right.
And sometimes things happen and you go out of balance. Mm-hmm. Well, you lock the doors, you start shutting things down, they count the money, And these were back in the days when we actually hauled our paper checks all around the country.
Oh,
Right. So
yeah.
this is back a few years before all the digital banking, but we physically had to package up, as they called it, the work. Right. You had to package the work, put it in a bag, lock it, and give it to a courier who would take it up to the central vault and do whatever magic happened up there. Right.
Sure.
Well, they have a very tight time frame because they're hitting all these different banks, and they've got to get it up to the central vault within a certain time window. Well, I watched managers and operations managers really treat those couriers like slay. I don't know why you would treat them poorly,
Yeah.
but they didn't treat them well. And so
they're handling the money of the company, but
they would handle all
even
of
if they weren't handling the money, there's no reason to treat them poorly. But
no, yeah, treat them
especially
right,
here,
right?
It just doesn't seem like a great thing to do. It's really weird.
So treat them good, right? Hey, if you've got snacks, offer them something. Just be kind to them. Ask them about their weekend. Ask them how their world is.
How is your world? Yeah,
and just help them out. Right, be kind to them as individuals, as human beings. And then I watch these managers treat these people poorly. Well, the teller's out of balance. The time has come to get picked up, the work to get picked up, and they're not ready. The work's not ready because the person was out of balance. That courier, they're gone. You're on your own. Whereas if you've treated them kindly, they'll say, look, I'll go hit a couple of other ones. I'll swing back on my way by out of town. We're good, right? It reciprocates. And
they're willing to work with you. There's a different feeling behind them getting the task done.
And you're not treating them kindly so that they'll treat you, give you preference. You're just doing it because it's the right thing. But when they need that to step up, they're there. I also watched, and this is another simple thing, but I'm going to stick with banking for the moment, was that let's say you close the doors at 5 o'clock. Everyone counts their money. They lock everything up. The work's out the door, and it's 5:15. Well, I would watch operations managers keep their employees until 5:30 because that's when they would get paid. So basically, they're sitting around twiddling their thumbs, trying to find something to do to look busy so they don't get docked 15 minutes, right? Same thing. This is like, look, Mike, we're done. Get out of here. Sign out at 5:30. I'll pay you for the 15 minutes, right? You were efficient. Right. Things went good. Why would I not reward you for that?
Right. Those you get your work done on time, and now I'm going to make you sit here and pretend to be busy, which is uncomfortable for you. It's uncomfortable because I know you're uncomfortable.
And
the right thing to do is to just say, yeah, you're good to go.
Yeah. And they build so much loyalty. Just little tiny bits of kindness. It says, hey, get out of here. You did good. Get out of here. And then when you need them to step up, they're going to be there because you've built this loyalty, because you have proven that you trust them and they're able to trust you back.
Totally. So you're an author of a couple books now. I mean, you have the guide that's out, the field guide. You're a great, great writer. You presented me with a great bio. I mean, if I would have read the whole thing, we'd still be listening to me saying it. So I figured I'd make it short and sweet at the top of the show. So you're a great writer, right? And an author, and we're all the author and the protagonist in our own life story, right? So imagine this now, God willing, that you get to live a long and prosperous life. You've already done a lot of these early chapters, and the things you've done are incredible. And not just trying to pat you on the back here and butter you up for the show, but it's true. But you God willing, you get to write many, many more chapters to your story. What would you like your legacy to be?
It really is around kindness, loyalty, being a good friend. These are the things that are important to me. And it's one of those things where I want everyone to be able to answer this question honestly. If you knew you had an expiration date, right? You knew you had short time. Would you do something different? And in our mastermind group last fall, I asked that question because I said, you know what? If I knew I had an expiration date, I would do exactly what I'm doing right now.
Ooh, that's
I
really
wouldn't
powerful.
change.
Yeah,
I wouldn't
that's awesome.
change. And so this is the way I want to live my life, so on my next birthday, it will be the 30th anniversary of my 30th birthday. So I'll turn
Wow.
60, right?
Mm-hmm.
And whether I'm 60 or 70 or 90, uh, I, I don't fear death, but I do
Mm-hmm.
fear irrelevance, right? I want to be
So
adding
good.
value to someone's life. I want to be the mentor for my kids, for other people I'm connected with. I want to be able to share and give them information that helps them out.
Mm. I'm writing that down. I don't fear death. I fear irrelevance.
Mm.
And I'd like to take it from there because I think that's so important. What I take from that, what the meaning I get behind that is obviously you're connected to a purpose. It's a greater purpose. It's more than you, yourself, and I. It's more than you, Christine, and your beautiful family. You have 3 children, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's more than having financial freedom, time to play the guitar on the wall, the bass guitar,
Mm.
time to do recordings like this one. I know you're active in everything that you're doing. It's way more than that. It's when your time comes that something continues on, that the world is a better place because of your existence, right? You're
Exactly.
not looking to be a dust collector. You're looking to be an impact maker for not only while you're here to talk about it, but after as well. I think that's the vision of a great leader, but also I do believe that everybody has a purpose, and I believe that it's a shame if you have the word potential. I think it's misused a lot, but you have
Mm.
great. Everyone has greatness in them. I do believe that. I think a lot of people are afraid to talk about it. The word greatness seems egotistical. What I mean by that is we all can relate to people and bring something great to the table, whether it's making you smile, whether it was your little educational piece on the way to get someone to open up about the day. It's whether you're an athlete and you're a great performer and you inspire kids to play basketball or music, whatever it is. Me doing the show, if I've inspired someone to buy a microphone and do their own podcast, it's amazing, right? And that's just
Mm-hmm.
me living in something I feel proud of, and that you can say, hey, he's really good at it, he's great at it, whatever. Um, and it's a damn shame if someone doesn't do that. And I think too many people get into this situation where they're living the lives that they were told is a good thing to have. And then they don't have fulfillment. And then they also aren't really building a legacy bigger than them in that time and moment. And it's unfortunate that, they're not really giving back to the community that they can. Like all that they're doing is taking resources and it's going in. They're not reaching their arms out and saying, how can I help my community first? It starts
Mm-hmm.
with you. Help me, help my family, help my community. Digital space, the community is really anybody who can log on to the internet. That's our community now. It's amazing. And really the planet. I mean, the sky is literally now, it's not even just a saying, it's literally the limit. Right. So you're
Mm-hmm.
doing it, but I just want to get that off my chest because I know it's too many people work hard and that's great. And they put food on the table for their family, and I respect
Mm-hmm.
it. Totally respect it. But then it's like, but what else, man? Like you got so much more in you. Don't die with your music inside you, right?
Yeah, I love that. And as Mike, as we're recording this episode, the Olympics are on, and I
Mm-hmm.
have always been a huge fan of the Olympics. And it's not just the Olympic competition; it's the struggles that people have overcome to get to that highest level of competition, the elite athletes of the world. And
Mm-hmm.
you don't have to be an elite athlete to have overcome. Everyone has overcome something.
Some kind of
Everybody has
adversity. Yeah.
something, right?
Mm-hmm.
And one of the great stories I like to share is Muhammad Ali, who was born Cassius Clay. And some bullies in the neighborhood stole his bike. The local sheriff, deputy sheriff, said, you need to take care of yourself, and recommended that he enroll in this boxing class, right?
Is that crazy?
10 years later, that man has received the Olympic gold medal
10
for
years
boxing.
from his first boxing lesson.
10 years, right?
Wow.
And
I didn't know
so
that.
this is pretty amazing. So he took that on,
Hmm.
and he won that. Now, if that was your goal, and this is where you're talking about purpose and goals.
Right.
So if that was his goal to get the Olympic gold, his life would have been over, right? And we see this. So many Olympic athletes, they achieve that gold medal, and everything in their life has been focused on that moment. They've
They
achieved it and they're done.
then they struggle to have purpose. Yeah.
Right. Now, if your goals flow out of your purpose,
Hmm.
then as you achieve that goal, you stand on the podium and they put that medal around Cassius Clay's neck. He won the gold. Now, he also then became Islam,
Hmm.
became a follower of Islam. And a lot of people don't know this, but he went on, of course, to beat Sonny Liston and become a world champion in professional boxing.
Hmm.
Well, when he converted to Islam, the federations that manage these licenses, they took that license away from him, or they took the title and they took his license away from him.
Hmm.
Not because he was a conscientious objector, which he was later, and didn't follow through with the draft when the government called them to military service.
Yeah.
They took it away because he had converted to Islam,
Hmm.
and you could have said at that
Which was
point
irrelevant to his boxing career.
it was
It's
irrelevant,
supposed to
but
be.
also they took away his livelihood. And if his goal was to stand on that Olympic gold platform, his life would have been over had he not had a purpose. And so from that, more goals flowed out. He
Yeah.
became a world champion in professional boxing. That was taken away from him, but his purpose was still around equality. So he's a black man in the United States in the 50s, 60s, 70s. And when we talk about racial justice,
Hmm.
well, he was one of the leaders. So his purpose wasn't boxing, it was promoting the justice and equality. So
Hmm.
he went to college campuses for the next 10 years after they took his license from him. He
Yeah.
went to college campuses and talked about equality and justice.
Hmm.
Then the Supreme Court exonerated him of any wrongdoing, and they were able to reinstate his status as a boxer, get his license back 10 years
So
later.
he didn't box during a 10-year window after
Mhm.
winning a gold medal. I didn't realize that.
Well, after winning the uh, professional
Was he like
uh,
16 when he won
champion,
that
world
gold?
champion.
Was he like 16 at the first gold
No, I
medal?
think it was 2021.
So then he didn't box
So
again until he was 31.
just about, yeah, yeah. He won the
Oh my
professional. He
God.
went in and won. I think it was 3 years or so after he won the Olympic gold that he won
Right.
the championship, professional
His
championship.
story is even more incredible that literally during
Yeah,
his prime, he had to shelf his career because of politics.
exactly. Yeah,
And then he
and so
came
here's
back and
somebody
just
that
he went
overcame.
undefeated, right? After he came back in.
And so this is and everybody has something. But if you have, and I love, Mike, that you were talking about purpose,
Hmm.
because he had goals, but he had deeper than that, he had purpose. So when something was taken away from him, he was able to put a new goal out that flowed from his purpose.
Hmm.
And so he didn't
It wasn't
fall into
identified by these.
disrepair.
Yeah, he was his identity wasn't these victories. It was the big
Correct.
picture of what his legacy was going to be. So he
Hmm.
knew the pages that he wanted to write. And yeah, their amazing boxing matches were in there, and that was going to build up his fame and credibility as a um, kind of an icon, if you will, if
Hmm.
you want to use that word. And
Right.
but he was about so much more than that, which is
Hmm.
why I think certain people resonate to someone of that status because of everything that they bring to the table and not only their trophies. Because if you're shallow, it's
Exactly.
just like the guy or gal who establishes financial freedom but still lacks fulfillment, because if they hit all their goals, then their goal is to have a net worth of $1 billion and they get there, but they don't have any other purposes tied to it and what they're going to do and how they're going to make other people's lives better. Human beings are connectors. So we have energy that's literally flowing through us. And if it's only flowing with us and not anything else, even if it's a digital landscape, it's eventually not healthy. And so that's why purpose is what really drives someone at the end of the day, is their purpose more so than anything. Money can motivate someone for so long. This, that, and the other thing can motivate you for so long. The difference between motivation and inspiration, I feel, is purpose. Like, I'm not looking to motivate people to do a task. My goal is to inspire them to do it because of the purpose behind it, the reason that the task needs to get done. So if you actually understand the why behind it and go into that whole conversation, it's so much more powerful than just this needs to get done by 5 o'clock, do it. I mean, why am I motivated to do it? Because you'll get paid better. Okay, it's done. I have no idea why I did it. And you're kind of doing it like frustrated, right? That's a great example. I mean, Cassius Clay, my dad did teach me a little bit about Muhammad Ali growing up. I saw some of the documentaries that came out, but I did not know that story about his license being taken away. And that's just absolutely ridiculous. So let's bring this thing home. I know we're kind of at that marker right now.
Sure.
You got to get rolling. We gave a shout out. You got 37 years of marriage with Christine that you're celebrating this year. You got a beautiful family, 3 kids. You rock that guitar on the wall behind you. You play bass a little bit. One thing I want to learn that we could talk about, everyone has different ways of handling it, but how do you personally find that balance in your life to be at a high level within business, but also be a great father, a great husband, and also have time for yourself? That's kind of the magic. If you can have that all figured out, you're doing really well.
Yeah, I'm in a paid mastermind group, and one of the things that we do, it's called Iron Sharpens Iron, so I'll give a little plug for that.
Sure.
But we meet every week, and one of the things that we're doing as an organization is we're focusing on we're calling it Come As You Will Be in 2023. So we're looking at 5 aspects of our life. What do I want to be like? Who do I want to be? What type of person do I want to be at the end of 2023? So we started this last year. We're looking out 36 months. And we're looking at 5 aspects. And it's relational, personal, financial, spiritual, and professional. That was I think it's 5 different ones, right? Yeah. And so one of the things I like to do is do little cartoon drawings. So you draw a face, right? And you start with something. And for me, I start with the nose. If I draw the nose, then everything else goes from there. Where do the eyes go? Where's the mouth, the hair, so forth, right? Everything else keys off of that one thing. So when I was putting together my plan for 2023, the first thing I started with was relationships. So at the end of 2023, what kind of relationship do I want to have with my wife? Because we'll have been celebrating our 40th year of marriage at that point. That's a good milestone number. Later this summer, early this fall, my daughter is getting married. My second child is getting married. So we've got a whole new family that's going to come in. So the things that I put there were around the relationships. What kind of relationship do I want to have with this new family, with my new son-in-law, with his family? What kind of traditions do we want to establish? So I looked at that as the first point, if you will, of the nose, right? Then I look at, okay, so that's relational with my family. And then you start looking out at personal. What do I want to do personally? Do you have fitness or health goals or experience or education goals that you want to accomplish? And those are naturally going to flow into your professional goals. What do I want to do as a business? What kind of projects do I want to be involved in? What things do I need to do that? So you start looking at education and all these different things. Those are going to flow into the financial. What do I want to have on my financial side? And then undergirding all of this is your spiritual side. So everyone has something spiritual. So whether you pray, meditate, read, walk the dog, whatever it is, there's something that you do that's spiritual. And so, so these
You gotta tap into that, or
yeah.
make sure you're giving yourself the space and time to do that.
And I'll just say, I'll give a plug here for the independent planner. And that's, I needed there was a point where the digital calendar let me down, right? My phone rings. Hey, Mike, this is Scott. This is Mike. I thought we were meeting today. Google let me down, and I said, I can't afford that. So I went back to a paper calendar. There was nothing that fulfilled what I wanted, because I wanted something that tracked my goals.
Is that for sale? Is your planner still for sale?
We're out of stock for 2021.
Okay, so keep an eye on it, guys.
This fall. And there's a goal tracking in here where you fill in what you want to do on that daily basis for your goals. And then if you actually, you can put it on the goal, but if you actually do it, you get the color in the box.
That's cool.
And the center side is the spiritual. So did you accomplish your spiritual? So you need some sort of a system to track. James Clear, in his book Atomic Habits, says we don't rise to the level of our goals, we fall to the level of our systems.
Yeah, our disciplines. I would agree.
Yeah.
So the way I'm looking at what you just said
you have
is
to have
instead
a
of
system.
Yeah, have a system. What I love about what you said is it's not kind of stacking all these things like family plus business plus personal plus spiritual. It's not just stacking them; it's intertwining them, which I think is really important, because humans, we don't have blocks. I'm speaking here. This is just like me speaking out my mind, but we don't put things in compartments, right? Like there's bleed over in everything that we do. So I think, like, to try to block something, say, all right, this is spiritual time. This only happens here. And you could have spiritual time when you're driving in the car with your family, or saying a prayer over a meal, and having it be more than only that 5 minute or whatever, however long it takes, a little prayer, couple minutes. But it doesn't, we don't work that way, to say this is over here, this is over here. So the way you just said, it's a dance all together. Makes it make a lot of sense. And I want to commend you, actually. I've interviewed, I lost track of the number, it's over 90 different guests. There's some that are recorded that didn't even come out yet. This is going to be somewhere in the mid 90s, I believe, maybe even close to episode 100. Interviewed quite a few people, all like leaders within their organization. If it's sports, they've won, I've had Olympic athletes on, I've had world-class performers on, I've had award-winning authors, all kinds of different spaces and fields, and really cool stories. But I love about your demeanor is, like, you're one of the most cool, calm, collected guys I've ever talked to. But also, when I'm asking you a question, you're pulling from your database of knowledge. You're pulling from, you do that stuff. You're not talking to me. You're not thinking about what you're going to say before you say it. You're literally just telling me what you're planning. When I ask you a question, you're not, pulling it from where. It's coming from real experience.
Thank you.
I could tell that. One of the things I've learned and developed by being the host of the show is learning body language, is learning through stories and learning from people. But everyone's unique. It's great to see all the different personalities, but the way that you tell a story and you captivate us. Like, you're not an over the top energy guy that's going to just, try to grab attention that way. You get our attention by sitting down, pulling people into your story, asking a good question. How's your world? Right. And you get people thinking, not by, throwing something at them to wake them up, but by hitting them. I got it written down over here, OFC. That's one way.
There you go.
But you just have a really good way of, of telling that story. I said this word probably too many times this episode, but articulate. You really do. And that's important for a communicator. You're captivating without being obnoxious, because sometimes people try too hard. You're not trying too hard. You're just being you. And I love it. So keep being you.
Mike, thanks so much, man. I just, what an honor. I'm humbled.
Yeah.
And thank you.
And you took an hour plus of your time to be with us today. So I want to thank you for that. Any last words you'd like to get before you head in your direction and we get on with the rest of our day?
Well, often when I give talks, the last phrase, the last slide that I will put up, it was really inspired by my mother's life. And I like to say, it's not about making money. It's about living a life that makes a difference.
It's not about making money. It's about living a life that makes a difference. And that's what it is. I mean, that's when you think about when someone literally, quote unquote, dies or passes away. I don't believe it's the moment that their life ends. It's the moment that their influence is gone. So their name's not talked about. The things that they taught in their family are no longer being taught anymore. The kindness that they gave is no longer passing through other people, right? So that's what you're talking about, like with influence, and you're talking about with purpose. The Muhammad Ali story is not about him in just a couple generations. It's how many people he impacted. So your grandma was very wise. I can tell you're well studied. You know, you're someone who does mastermind groups, not because you just like to chit chat with your friends. You're looking to learn, sharpen your sword. Iron sharpens iron. I love that. Guys, you can go to, it's dscottsmith.com. Clickable again in the show notes. Thank you so much for your time. This was an incredible interview. And I always say this, but I really mean it. I'm honored and humbled to be your friend.
Thank you, Mike. I agree. I just have had so much fun getting to know you, being able to talk with you before we came on this show weeks ago, whenever it is we first
I know, it's all blending together.
Conversations, and today, and all those conversations that we're going to have into the future. Man, life, what an adventure.
Yeah, you give me a call on this old thing here, and we'll have a phone call, an actual conversation. We can do a Zoom call anytime. Text me, hit me up on LinkedIn. I'm here to help support you in any way I can. And, not only have a conversation, but have meaning and purpose behind it. And you did that today. Thank you so much.
Fabulous.
I'd like to give a huge shout out to everyone for tuning in, especially those who listen all the way to the end to hear this message. Seriously, I appreciate you, and my guests do as well. Giving a quick reminder to subscribe to this show. It's completely free and will allow you to receive notifications when new episodes are released. If you'd like to provide a tip as a gift, you can do so via patreon.com/mikedup. It's spelled MIKED up. Patreon.com/mikedup. You can give as little as $1 per month or as much as you'd like. Every dollar is greatly appreciated and completely unexpected. Appreciate your reviews and your messages coming in on social as well. Keep them coming. Your feedback is valuable and absolutely means the world to me. You can check out more episodes and content at mikeduppodcast.com. We're powered by Social Chameleon. You can also follow me on Instagram. That's where I'm the most active, and it's at Mike DiCioccio, MIKEDICIOCCIO. Thank you so much for your continued support. You guys know what to do. Be great and be grateful.